I often get a question from my connection that how to be a full stack developer. So today let me tell you what the fundamental or basic things you have to know to tag yourself as a full stack developer. If we divide a project, we can categorize it into backend or server development, front-end web development, and mobile application development. In most cases, full stack developer refers to full stack web developer. So that means a developer who knows the backend technology to create backend web application or web service and also has some knowledge to create front-end web application is referred as a full stack web developer. In some job, I saw that beside full stack web development experience, you have to know some mobile application development experience, but it is rare. So that means if you want to be a full stack web developer, you can skip the mobile application development part. But if you are curious, if you want to expand your skill, you can definitely learn the mobile technology as well beside your full stack web application development. So where these full stack developers work? So in most cases, small or startup companies hire full stack developers because they have less resource. Medium to large company or corporate company, they have lots of resource, so they hire dedicated developers who either work in the backend technology or in the front-end technology or in the mobile application development department. At first, I want to tell you that you have to know how to work with HTML, CSS and JavaScript. These three things is the fundamental of a web application, and you should definitely know how this thing works, how to create a basic web page, how to structure a web page using HTML and CSS, how to create some interactivity in a web page using JavaScript. These things is the essential things you have to know to be a web developer. That may be either front-end or back-end, it doesn't matter. You must have to know these technologies. You also have to know how to use Git to version control your code. You have to know how to create repository, how to check out other people's code, how to merge code, how to create branch to create new feature in existing project. These are the common things you as a developer have to know. At first, you have to select a programming language that works in the backend technology like Python or JavaScript or maybe PHP. After learning the programming language, you have to select a related framework. If you learned Python, then you can select Django or Flash framework because these two are popular framework to create web application or create web service. If you want to select JavaScript, then you can learn Express framework, which is very popular to create backend web application or backend web service using JavaScript. If you select PHP, then you can learn Laravel, which is a very popular PHP based framework. You have to learn how to create backend server rendering web pages, how to create a full web application, how to create authentication, how session works, how cookies work, how to process the authorization. These are the common things. If you select Django, then there are many built-in libraries like forms and some other session which is very easy to integrate. But in some framework like Flash or ExpressJs, not everything is integrated. You have to find the related third-party library to integrate yourself to create the full-fledged application. But these are the things you have to learn yourself. Now you have to learn how to create a web service. In many cases nowadays, when we develop a web application, in some cases we also create some web services. So that means our front-end web application or mobile application can connect with the server to retrieve or update data. And in most cases, REST API is the popular choice. So that means if you learn Django to create backend web application, then you can learn the Django REST framework to create REST service. If you learn JavaScript and ExpressJs, then you can also create web service using ExpressJs framework. Similarly, Laravel also has integrated library to create REST API services. You must have to know how to use relational and NoSQL based database. For relational database, you can learn how to use MySQL, how to use PostgreSQL, and for non-relational, you can learn how to use MongoDB. MongoDB is very popular nowadays, so it is quite common that in a web application they are connected with MongoDB to retrieve or save data. In some cases, like Django framework is designed to use relational database, and it is not easy to use MongoDB with Django framework. There are some third-party libraries using that you can use MongoDB with Django, but Django is totally designed to use relational database. But if you select and learn Flash framework or ExpressJs JavaScript based framework, you have the freedom to choose any database engine for your web application. When you learn backend web application development, you also have to learn how to integrate third-party libraries and third-party service in your particular framework. It is very important. You also have to learn how to deploy your web application to web server. So like how to deploy your application in Heroku server or how to deploy your web application in Amazon server. And finally, security is very important for a web application. So as a backend developer, you also have to learn what is security, what is web security, how to prevent SQL injection, how to prevent cross-site scripting, how to prevent cross-site request forgery. There are some other security related issue you should have some knowledge. In that case, you can create a secure and reliable backend web application. So after learning the fundamental knowledge about backend web application development, you should create a full web application and a web service. So then you can understand that how everything works. When you will learn something, you will feel that you understand everything, but when you create something from scratch, then you will find the difficulty that how to connect each of these things to create a full web application. And that is the very important thing as a developer you have to learn yourself. So if you are quite confident about backend web application development, or if you just want to learn front-end web application development, then these are the things you have to know. At first, you have to learn how to use HTML, CSS and JavaScript. It's very important thing, and in front-end web application, it's the most important thing. At the second stage, you should learn a front-end web framework or library like React or Angular or Vue. Personally, I love and like React very much because React is very easy to understand and it is quite easy to develop sophisticated front-end web application, and there are many third-party libraries you can easily plug and play with React library to create a full-fledged web application. But if you do not like React, you can try other like Angular or Vue.js. It's totally up to you. But whatever you learn, just try to stick with that and try to gain some advanced knowledge on that particular library or framework. In front-end web application development, you also have to learn how to use NPM or Yarn. These are the JavaScript package manager. As a front-end application developer, you also have to know how to connect from your front-end web application to your backend server using REST API. So that means in many cases, you have to interact with your backend server to retrieve or update data. Though there are some advanced technologies introduced like GraphQL for using or creating API, but still REST APIs are very popular. So as a front-end application developer, you have to know how to use REST API in your front-end library or your front-end web framework. If you learn React, you also have to learn a global app state management third-party library like Redux. Redux is very popular, and in most cases I found that when a full-fledged React application is developed, the global app state is managed using the Redux library. There are some other libraries like MobX to manage state, but still Redux is the most popular library for React based web application. So if you choose React, you should definitely learn how to use Redux as well. In many startup projects, what I saw that they use either Material UI or Semantic UI or Bootstrap UI. So personally in my last job, there we use the Semantic UI, and Semantic UI has a React based library, so you can easily plug and play to create beautiful user interface. So these are the things you definitely have to learn as a front-end application developer. Style component is another popular library to use CSS as a React component in your React based web application. So if you choose React, you should also explore the style components. I will give all the links below in the description, so you should check it out. In front-end application development, you also should learn how to integrate third-party libraries, like how to integrate Google Firebase authentication or Google Firestore Cloud database service in your web application. But personally, I found that Google Firebase authentication is mostly used to create any front-end web application. So in that case, you do not need to create the authentication system yourself. You just have to plug and play. After learning this thing, you also have to learn how to deploy your front-end application. Maybe You can deploy your application in Firebase hosting, or maybe Netlify, or maybe in Heroku or Amazon AWS. It's up to you. So you have to learn how to deploy your web application using command line to this kind of hosting services. So after learning this backend and front-end web technologies, still you want to develop some mobile application, then you can select either React Native or Flutter framework to create cross-platform mobile application. In most cases, startup companies or small companies do not have that kind of resource to hire dedicated iOS or Android developer. So they want one code base to deploy in multiple platforms. In that case, React Native and Flutter is very popular. So if you already know React in web application development, then you can easily learn React Native. But Flutter is also not difficult, but if you want to use Flutter, you have to learn a new programming language that is called Dart, which is the main language to develop cross-platform mobile application using Flutter framework. So it's totally up to you that what you want to choose. But personally, I found both are good, but Flutter is better because Flutter has many built-in libraries. And if you just want to create a REST-based mobile application, then using the built-in library, you can easily create sophisticated user interface. So if you learn Flutter, you can create cross-platform mobile application faster. So there are pros and cons between React Native and Flutter. So it's totally up to you. And if you also have some time, you can learn some native technology like Swift and Kotlin for iOS and Android, that how to develop application natively. But unless you want to be a dedicated mobile app developer, it's not a good suggestion to invest your time in the native technologies. So here is my final suggestion to you. Target one domain at a time. So if you want to be a full stack developer, you cannot be a full stack developer overnight. Okay, you have to invest your time. So you may start from the front end and then go to the back end, or maybe you start from the back end and go to the front end, or maybe you just want to be a mobile developer and then you want to explore web technology. So it's totally up to you. But what I suggest, don't focus all at a time. Try to gather from basic to some advanced knowledge to a particular domain. It may be back end or front end. Don't invest time all at once. And whatever you do, try to create some project. If you do not create a project yourself from scratch, you will not understand the technology properly. When you will create a project from scratch and plug and play different things in that project, then you will understand all the things clearly, and over time you will have a solid knowledge on that particular technology. So anyway, that's it for today. This is a rough discussion. So if I missed any point you think which is very important to be a full stack developer, you can mention that in the comments, so I will see that what I missed, or if you have any question you can also ask me in the comment section. So thank you for watching and keep learning.